Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamuna Tirara Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kundavihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kundavihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Nandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Tira Madhava Kundavihari Radha Madhava Kundavihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Hare Bol, 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 Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivraja Kacharya Ashtota Sadashri Si Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Praying Sega Ho Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Sri Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Maya Ki Jamuna Maya Ki Tulsi Deva Ki Bhakti Deva Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Lord Chaitanya Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Go Premanandi, all glorious to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Grand, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswate Devi. Gauravani Pacharine Namaste Shishindavani Pastachati Shata. Hare Krishna. Well, I guess it's quite warm over there in Manila. It's -7 here in Paris. At least it's a feel. It's -5, -7 feel degrees centigrade. It's quite cold. I'm in Paris, and we're here primarily for what is traditionally known in ISKCON as the Prabhupada Book Marathon. And I don't know if you're doing that there in Manila or not. We used to, when I first started coming to Manila, which some of you remember a long time ago. I don't know who's there, Ekachakra? Yes, you may remember, I think you were there then. We started a small book marathon. That was probably about 2008 or 9. And I remember Balaram, where's Balaram? He was living in Baguio at that time with Mac. I don't know if you know Mac, who's now known as Makan Lal. So they came down to Manila, and they also joined us on that little book marathon. We had a few devotees. I can't remember which few. We had definitely had a few devotees going out, not many. On Sankirtan, we would go to different Mandaluyong and here and there, trying to distribute books and Samwan and different parts of the city, and the city, of course, as well. Even Janananda Maharaj was visiting at that time. He joined us for a few days. He wasn't Maharaj at that time, and he was still Brahmachari. So we did a little bit of a book marathon. It was good fun. It's not like in Manila at Christmas is there, but it's not like people have got necessarily a highly generous or financially lucrative situation. Even at Christmas, even there in Makati, we would go, and it was fun. Anyway, we're doing the book marathon here in Paris. We do it every year, and we have, I guess, we had about 15 devotees out on Sankirtan, men and women, in Paris and some elsewhere in France, distributing books. And I think yesterday, I don't know, and we did about 200 Gitas here and many other books and so on and so forth. So something going on. And yeah, so I would suggest, whatever few days are left up to Christmas, I don't know if books are still available there, you try to distribute a few books for Prabhupada. Book distribution was Prabhupada's, and publication was Prabhupada's heart. And pleased him so much to see the essence of spiritual life is a focus based upon this principle of pleasing Krishna's representative, the pure devotee of the Lord. And it's not difficult to find out how to please Prabhupada, because he told us in so many ways how to please him. In many ways, chant Hare Krishna, follow the regulated principles, open up centers like you've done there, Sampala, and distribute books, open up, farming communities, restaurants, whatever. Many ways to try to please the pure devotee of the Lord. He's more merciful than Krishna. We can't really, in one sense, you can say that Krishna is the ocean of mercy, but manifesting, you could say, Krishna is not easy to, conquer. He's not easy to, he's way off from us, you could say, in one sense. But the pure devotees, they come into this world to give us their association, to give us that opportunity to connect with Krishna, and they teach us how to please Krishna. And because the pure devotees are one with the heart of the Lord, they have no desire save and except the desire of the Lord. So pleasing a pure devotee is tantamount or the same, basically, as pleasing the Supreme Lord. This is how our service is actually offered to Krishna. This is the connection through this parampara, disciplic succession. So Srila Prabhupada has given us so many ways that we can please Krishna. And in practical terms, it means how we can please him. So this is one of the primary, if not the primary activity, when Srila Prabhupada gave the various purposes of ISKCON, the book distribution, to achieve all the above mentioned or aforementioned points, to translate and publish and distribute literature was the method. Very powerful. Called Brihat Madanga, the great Madanga. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj used to call it Brihat Madanga. Brihat means great. The Madanga, I saw one devotee at the back there. I can't make out the faces very well, but I saw one devotee playing Madanga when we were having kirtan. And this is Madanga. It's heard one block, maybe 2 blocks away. And that's it. I mean, of course, the sound vibration is unending, unlimited, goes all over the universe in one sense. But in terms of people's immediate reception, it's limited. Whereas Prabhupada said that the Brihat Madanga, these books, magazines, and so on, they go all over the world, and they're lasting. When people have a book in their home, it lasts. It's a permanent presence, more or less, in their homes. So it's very, in fact, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj on his logo, this Gaudiya Mass, that's the name of their organization, formed by Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. On the logo is the printing press, as well as the Madanga, the deities, and so on and so forth. But the printing press is there. It's a very important part of it. It has been recently a very important part of the lives of great pure devotees of the Lord, to see that this knowledge is disseminated everywhere, especially in the form of literature. Now we have social media in various forms, everything online now. People may not buy books like they used to, some people still do. But the principle is still the same, the written word disseminating that information everywhere. In fact, in some of his temples, where they had a printing press, sometimes he would put the printing press at one end of the temple room and the deities at the other. That's quite, you could say, revolutionary. Imagine in your temple room, I don't know the temple room you have there, the room you're in, fine, you could do it there, but imagine, like, for instance, in Brajeko village, for instance, if in a temple room, somebody had put a printing machine at one end and the deities at the other, and the printing machine is pounding away there, and they're not quiet either, they're very noisy. But this to him was kirtan, when he would hear this written word going out in Bhagavatam. This year, what year are we in? 2022. This is the 60th year, actually, of Srila Prabhupada first starting his Srimad Bhagavatam back in Delhi, Vrindavan, Delhi, Prabhupada, 1962. He started to publish his Srimad Bhagavatam for the world's benefit. So we're going to mention something about a little part of Srimad Bhagavatam today, since this is really the, for those who are blinded by the darkness of this age of Kali, Srimad Bhagavatam gives us light. That light is to remind us. I was just listening to Sakyinanda Maharaj speaking online, and he was saying he was one devotee, he was hearing about their life history. And this devotee, he was, before becoming a devotee, he was very depressed. In fact, he decided to leave his body He went to the forest with the intention of committing suicide, basically. He went to the forest. He was about to kill himself. And then he thought, well, maybe I should just say goodbye to some acquaintances, some friends. So he went back out in the forest for a while just to say goodbyes or tie something up. And it so happened when he got to the town or the village or whatever it was, there was a devotee there. This devotee met him and they started to talk. And the devotee kind of gave him a book and said, just before you decide what you're to do, read this, try to read this book at least. So he took the book and he started to read it a little bit. And he started getting interested to such an extent that he continued to read it. And he changed his mind after that because he didn't see any point in life. Now, when we really look at life in some ways, we may question that indeed. What is really the point in life? I was just reading another little snippet this morning. It's with some Vaisheshika Prabhu. I don't know if you know him. He's amazing, inspirational devotee from America. And he said, he was telling that he met I don't know what they call them, people who deal with cancer patients. Is it pathologist? I don't know. Some of you will know. Oh, there. Vaishnav, you'll know. He's a doctor. Is it pathologist, those who deal with cancer patients? I don't know if you can hear me. I can see him on the screen. He's a doctor. Some of you may be doctors. Anyway, whatever it is, these doctors said that there's one kind of cancer which is very, very deadly, something in the pancreas. And generally speaking, people don't last very. Oncologist, okay, thank you. Shamala's put it on the phone now, on the screen. So oncologist. So very, very deadly, apparently. And it's rare that once we've got the extreme case of that, you don't usually live more than a few weeks. So it's a very depressing situation for these doctors who have to deal with this type of subject matter all the time. It's like negative, very negative. So they have a light way of speaking about it sometimes. And they said, did you read the results of your patient's test? Yes. Then they said, yes, he's got this. And so what did you advise him? I advised him not to buy the big tube. What does that mean? Don't buy the big tube of toothpaste. Because you won't be long. You don't need a big tube of toothpaste. You won't be here very long. So don't waste your time and money buying a big tube. That's how they would talk to each other, these doctors, just to lighten the subject matter a little bit. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means what it means, but it means something to us as well. That this lifetime which we have, which appears to be, in a sense, in one sense, we kind of think, and we know we don't, but we think a little bit like, I'm going to live forever. Now, Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he was asked by the Yaksha, he was, this is a big story from the Mahabharata, of course, but he was asked, he was tested at the lake of death. Answer my questions. Huh? If you want to survive, you have to answer my questions. So this disguise, he was in the form of a bird, actually, he was a Yaksha. And he asking Yudhishthira Maharaj, tell me, what is the most amazing thing in this world? What is the most amazing thing? And Yudhishthira said, the most amazing thing in this world is that although everybody's going to die, everybody thinks they're not. Now, in one sense, or at least they behave like they're not. We don't prepare. Maybe we're preparing our will or something like that for our family, but we're not preparing for the reality of death because we don't know what it is. We're in ignorance. People don't know how to prepare for death. This is you could say that a great shame of modern society, despite all of our advancement in technology and so on. We don't even know what happens after death. People don't know. They may come up with a theory that there's nothing after death. They can do anything, but they don't really know. It's a great shame, and there's no preparation. I mean, there's some religious people, of course, pious activity and prayer and so on. But there's no higher preparation, not just kind of like on this level, get a better station, but to actually go back to Godhead or to achieve the ultimate goal of this human form of life is extremely rare. Very, very rare. So like that, but we spend so much money, so much energy. Although we would have said, definitely, we're going to die. But we put all our energy into a dead loss. It's like if you're on a race course. I don't suppose any of you are gamblers, at least not with horse racing. I think you have a horse racing course there somewhere in Manila. But if you're a gambler, and you put all your money on a horse that's just about to die, it can hardly breathe. We've got 2 broken legs. One eye doesn't work. And you put all your money on it. You think this guy's crazy. This horse is not going to win. No way this horse is going to win. But like that, we are. As sure, they say it in the West, as sure as death. The only thing certain in our life is death. Isn't it? Nothing else is certain. When? We don't know. But we put all our money into it. We become very attached to our property, very attached to our body, our family, our country, whatever else we've got going on in our life. Even on the subtle platform, of course, is even worse. We become very attached to whatever concept we have of life in terms of who we are, or what's right and wrong, and so on and so forth. I'm very attached to it. All the various subtle desires, the various gross activities and possessions, we become super, super attached. So obviously we're so attached, it's just normal. But that's going to dictate our next future in this world. So there's no preparation basically beyond that for most people. So Shastra, especially Bhagavatam, gives us very clear direction, guidance as to how we can prepare, what we can do to prepare for the inevitable, this material world. So for Bhagavatam, well, there are many, many instances in the Srimad. I'll just briefly. Here's what we call allegorical example. I mean, it's kind of like comparing a situation with a kind of more or less an imaginary kind of setup. So this is not entirely allegorical, it's reality as well, but figuratively speaking, it's somewhat allegorical. So it's the story of the person, the king, named Puranjan. Is anyone there named Puranjan? Anyone there in Manila? Any Puranjans there? You're a Puranjan, Ekachakra? Are you Puranjan? Huh? Hare Krishna. Well, maybe you are, because what does Puranjan mean? What is Puranjan? Some of you may have heard this word. Jana, it means Jana is the person who's trying to enjoy within this body. So who's not a Puranjan? I think everybody's a Puranjan. Trying to be. Even animals, humans, you name it. Pretty much everyone is trying to be the enjoyer. Now, that's nothing wrong with wanting to be the enjoyer in one sense, because the nature of the soul is to try to enjoy. Everybody wants to enjoy or be happy. So this king, he was going here and there, and he came across a city with 9 gates. This city seemed to be a really nice city. All nice facilities were there. Beautiful facilities. Well, this city represents the human body. 9 gates. City of 9 gates. That's the human body. Human body is special amongst all the bodies in the universe. This human body is very special. You don't get it very, very easily, by the way. There are 8,400,000 species of life in the universe. 400,000 are human. Now, human species are not defined quite the same way as we may think. They're described more on the level of consciousness, not so much the physical form may or may not go along with it. It sometimes does, but it doesn't always. It's based more on the level of consciousness rather than whether you've got Mongoloid or Caucasian or whatever it is, body form. It's more the consciousness of the soul within it, and determines what level you're on, because the human form is the human junction in some ways. It's the crossroads. It's a very special life within the universe. The earthly planets are very special. And the demigods are just basically reaping, well, not so much the demigods in the sense of the big ones, but people of the heavenly planets are reaping the good results of their previous human activity. And those who are in hell, opposite, getting the bad results. So human form of life is the platform for change, making the future, dictating our future. So it's very important to make most of this human form of life. But most people, unfortunately, they simply take it for granted. They just try to enjoy this body of 9 gates, and they don't realize much more before that, much more after it either. And this way, they're like in a dream world, we don't realize anything outside the dream. And people who are dreaming, who will dream at night, cannot remember anything outside the dream. The dream is the only reality we know. And our daytime is similar to that too. Everything is directed towards trying to satisfy the desires that come into our mind during the day, or whatever it is, but trying to satisfy the needful. And that's our life, basically, up to the time we die. The living entity doesn't stop. The attachments continue till death. And consequently, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, that whatever you think of at the time of death, that you attain without fail. It's a question of our consciousness or our thoughts at the time of death. So human life is really meant for developing or cultivating spiritual consciousness. Not meant kamasyanendriya pratirlabho jivete yavata. Human life is not meant for sense gratification. It is meant for inquiry into the nature of the absolute truth. That should be the goal of all of our work. To inquire includes, you could say, a process to try to understand or develop a spiritual consciousness or awareness. That's the human life purpose, real purpose. Demigods are too enwrapped in enjoying the fruits of their work. And in the hellish planets, people are so suffering, they're just struggling to try to minimize the suffering, tolerate whatever. But in the human life, one does get this opportunity, although most human beings don't take advantage. Rupa Goswami describes how it's there are many species of life we've mentioned, only a few are human beings. Because demigods are more than humans in one sense, but they're not strictly speaking human beings. In different planets, they're also different. But in the human form of life, very few, and very few amongst those are seriously speaking interested in spiritual life. And of those who are interested in spiritual life, very few understand the nature of spirit. And of those who understand that, most of them just ritualistically practice religiosity, but with no realization. It's only for material returns. But for those who understand there's a spiritual purpose behind it, are very few. And of those who understand that, very, very few realize what it is. And of those who realize what it is, very few realize the actual highest realm of spiritual understanding, our eternal loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very few understand that point. Extremely rare. Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Manushanam Sahasreshu Kasti Jati. Out of many thousands, in fact, Prabhupada, when he lectured in Bombay on this verse, he said, out of many millions among men, not thousands, out of millions among men, hardly one knows me in truth. Hardly anyone. It's extremely rare, very rare. That knowledge is given in Shastra, of course, but because most people's will or desire is not for that. Most people's desire is material. Therefore, most of the Vedas, as Krishna says, Traigunya Vishayaveda, Nistraigunya Arjuna, the Vedas, the scriptures all over the world, whether it's the Bible, Quran, Veda, this one, that one, mostly deal with the three modes of nature. They don't deal with the transcendental realm that much. It's mostly acting within the material framework because that's what people want. They're not interested in transcendence very often. They're interested in trying to enjoy themselves by getting a better situation, a better house, a better job, a better partner, children, health, education, etc. And if they believe in another life, they try to work in a way that hope that they get a better situation in this world in the next lifetime. They pray to demigods or whatever, even God, please help me, free me from suffering, and so on and so forth, forgive me for my sins, and you name it, on and on, all kinds of material requests are there, totally material in almost every case. So most people are like that. They don't understand the ultimate goal of life, which is a great shame. It's only if they get wonderful opportunity to associate with a pure devotee. So mostly the Vedas, they deal with this because that's what people want. So they're designed in such a way as to, let's say, help slowly by performing, let's say, material activity under the guidelines of scripture, direction, religiosity, you could say, one gradually becomes regulated and then maybe gradually purified. At least it's, the karmas get less, but it's not transcendental. It's still material. So that's very rare for someone who really is living a life for the transcendence. We're still thinking of me, how I can enjoy in this body and in the environment which I'm in, how I can enjoy in Manila. You can enjoy everywhere if you try, to some degree, going to one's karma, but it doesn't last. Even in Manila, happiness comes to an end, if it starts at all. So this is the unfortunate state in the human form. But when one gets this human life, it is so rare to get this opportunity. Our acharyas, when Prabhupada told the example, it's like if you're in an ocean. There you are in the Pacific Ocean. Suddenly, you're dropped into the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Oh my goodness, what a scary thing. Man. Big Pacific Ocean. Nobody would want that. Sharks, this and that, I don't know what's there. But as you're swimming, trying to survive in that great ocean, which is not easy, suddenly there was one turtle. Oh, actually, that's another example. Let's give the example regarding the turtle. Turtle. We'll give the example. There's a turtle in the ocean. The turtle is under the water swimming. And suddenly the turtle comes to the surface. It so happens in that great ocean is one wooden log or wooden piece of wood anyway. And this piece of wood, there's only one of them in the whole ocean, has a hole in the middle. And just at the moment, big ocean, just at that moment, the turtle comes to the surface. And somehow or another, the head of the turtle goes straight through the hole in that great ocean. What are the chances of that? Very slim. Similarly, what are the chances of coming to an evolved human form of life with an opportunity to get out of this ocean of birth and death? It's very rare, very rare. So Srimad Bhagavatam makes this the almost impossible, makes the very rare possible. Otherwise, it's not possible. If we just associate with the world around us, if we just associate with each other on a material platform, if we just go through the normal walks of life, there's no way we're going to get out of this world. No way. It's only by the mercy of the pure devotees of the Lord that this opportunity to get released from the cycle of birth and death is made possible. We're all kind of, most of us are coming down or have come down. I'm just coming out of it with a cold. You cannot imagine what -5 degrees is like in Manila. I don't think you can. Is it possible? I don't think it ever gets that cold, even in Baguio. I don't think so. So it is very cold here, and Anyway, what to do. So human form of life, what a golden opportunity. So how to prepare ourselves, what to do about this. Just become pious religiously? Okay, that's one way of doing it. Might take a long time, long time, many lifetimes, going to heaven, coming back again. You can do that. It's certainly recommended to follow religiosity if the religiosity is actually bona fide, if it's actually what it is. Sometimes now we compromise religion, changing things to suit our particular situation. You see, scriptures, whether it's the Bible or whatever it is, are meant for changing us, not meant for us changing them. It's meant for a guideline to help change how we see the world, how we relate to this world. It's meant to help us change that. Unfortunately, sometimes we take it the other way around. We now have to adjust the scriptures to fit into our modern situation. It doesn't work like that. Maybe the details of practical application vary, but not the philosophy, not the principles. They stay the same. To the degree that they're applied may vary. But that principle is there to gradually regulate the living entity and engage the living entity in elevating activity and so on, so that we can become gradually detached from this world, gradually. Krishna consciousness is, you could say, certainly includes that, but much more than that. The process of Krishna, which is very rarely mentioned. Yes, God is mentioned in his various forms, his impersonal form, his certain aspects of his reverential form are mentioned in all scriptures, but small compared to, piety, this and that. And even then, it's only usually very vague. Not much description is given of the form of the Lord, the names of the Lord, the relationship or the qualities of God. You don't find much. You find that hidden in certain shastras. It's even there, some indications of the beauty of God are mentioned in the Bible and the Quran, but only briefly, extremely briefly, to the extent that practically nobody ever mentions it. It's all about faith and piety and belief and, rituals and things like that, which the Vedas are the same. Bhagavad Gita takes us from that platform to the platform of actually, what are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be thinking of Krishna. Manmana bhava madbhakto. To always think of me, Krishna says. So how to think of Krishna. So there's a process in human life, or so to speak, given to those in human life, whereby we can come to think of Krishna. It's so simple in Kali Yuga. It's not so difficult. In other yugas, it does take a lot of effort, austerity, and so on. It's not so easy to attain that level of consciousness. But in Kali Yuga, Krishna has made it much simpler. Because Kali Yuga is a difficult age. What was previously attained by meditation, by great austerities, great sacrifices, by worshipping the deity so purely, and so on, is attained in Kali Yuga simply by the process of Harinama Sankirtan, chanting the holy names of Krishna. What is this? Kalaya dosha nadeyasti. Kalaya dosha is Kirtana Deva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Parampati. This age of Kali, Kalaya dosha, is full of faults, O king, is full of faults. But there is one great quality in this age that we're in. Kirtana Deva Krishnasya. That simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can attain all perfection. One gets you could say, the secondary results to Iti Shodashakamnana, Kalikamashanashna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That this simply by chanting these 16 Iti Shodashakamnana, these 16 names, one can counteract all of the various sinful reactions, all the negativity of this age of Kali, by chanting the holy names, both personally and collectively. So this is the highest recommendation, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam. Kalona steva gatiranyata. But in Kali Yuga, simply the chanting of the holy names, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name is the only way, the only way, the only way. Other processes may elevate us materially. They may free us from sinful reactions. They may even, very rarely, but they may even lead one to liberation, freedom from birth and death, freedom from the material world. But to attain the highest perfection, very rare. Highest perfection is Krishna, Paramatma, pure love of Krishna. To attain that stage, very rare. We block ourselves. Oh, I know all these. We meet a lot of Indian people on the streets, even here in Paris. I know all these things. I am having this book at home. I have read this book. But it means that they definitely haven't read it, and they don't really have it either. Because if they did, their lives would change. No, they may have a version of the Bhagavad Gita, but it does nothing to them whatsoever in terms of changing the way we see the world. Prabhupada has given this opportunity. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvema. And it opens our darkened eyes, which were blinded, the darkness of ignorance. And how does he open it? With the weapon of knowledge. So we take shelter of such a person who can give us that light. If we want to carry on with our dream-like world, like the Paranjan, who goes throughout his whole life just trying to adjust everything for his own gross and subtle desires. And we do this in Krishna consciousness too, in many ways, always trying to adjust things. This devotee is giving me a problem, this thing, that thing, so many things are there. We're missing the point. The point is within our own hearts. Are we seeing things with Krishna in the center or not? Is it our false ego losing action here? Identifying ourselves with a particular condition. And we could say, imposing that on all of our relationships, on how we see the world around us, and on like this. And it's a beautiful thing that Prabhupada has given the world. It's the most beautiful gift. Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming. Everybody at Christmas time in the West, more or less, at least Christians, or those who are, not say Christians, but those who follow this tradition. Christmas time means gorging yourself. Eat as much as you can. Drink as much as you can. Even smoke, gamble, sport, sex, everything is increased. It's a fact. I mean, people spend so much money on liquor at this time of year, on meat, all kinds of useless things, sinful things. My father, for instance, he never smoked. He never drank normally. He wasn't a big eater. But when Christmas came, he smoked, he drank, he gambled, he ate like anything. I never found out if he had sex. That's another thing, I don't know. But it's certainly the other things he really increased considerably, things which we'd never do during the year. And Christmas is supposed to be a day of glorification of God's representative, the Son of God. Instead, we use it to do the very things which he condemned. It's so hypocritical, so negative. Many times this happens, I don't say everywhere, but this is particularly this festival. It's just so weird. I mean, some people follow it with spiritual, religious intent, but generally people just gorge themselves. Okay, so what do? Devotees we can offer a feast to Krishna. We can get together, have a party. People like to have parties. We get together a party like you're doing there. Dance and chant. People get drunk. They start dancing and chanting, or singing, chanting. Start singing some mundane song or listening to a mundane song. And they dance. They do all sorts of other things. But that much they do. And then they have feasts. So devotees, you can do. Dance, chant, feast. This is Lord Chaitanya's process. It's just not giving it up, it's transforming it in relationship with Krishna. This is Krishna consciousness, learning how to do what we're attached to, whatever reason, what we're involved in this life, how to do it really more and more and more for Krishna's pleasure instead of our own. Doing it for ourselves is called Atmendriya. Doing it for Krishna is called Krishnendriya, to satisfy Krishna's senses. Pure devotees, they teach us this simple process, how to transform our lives for Krishna's pleasure. And that's what this Krishna consciousness movement is for. That's what these special scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and so on, they're not based upon material elevation. That may come as a secondary factor anyway, but that's not the goal. The goal is to love, to awaken that Nityasthita Krishna Prema, that love for Krishna, which is inside, hidden within the core of our consciousness, presently being pervertedly reflected in the form of love for the material world. So let us try to benefit ourselves, come together. Don't put yourself in the center, put Krishna in the center. When we gather in a group like yours there, then we try to put Krishna in the center by chanting his names, by hearing about him, worshipping him, and so on. In this way, gradually, our consciousness can become purified so that we're no longer seeing ourselves in the center. We're no longer identifying ourselves with this body, this false identity, but rather we start to identify ourselves with Krishna. And this will bring satisfaction to the self, unity, and benefit others. Everyone around us will also, unknowingly, their interests may not be spiritual, but they still get benefited from the presence of a devotee, one who is putting Krishna in the center of their lives. So we hope that they're in Manila or anywhere when it comes to that, everyone, every devotee can embrace this wonderful gift which Srila Prabhupada has given the world, keeping it close to your heart as our most valuable possession. Don't let go of it. It's yours. Prabhupada said, no, you can't say anything is yours except for Krishna. So Krishna manifests to us, you could say, in the form of devotional service. So don't let go of it. It's your most prized possession. Much more valuable than the latest mobile or whatever other gadgets you have these days, which we become very attached to. Latest cameras. I see in Philippines people like cameras. All these things are like, what's the use? What do they really do? If we use them in Krishna service, fine. But much of the time, they just occupy our time. They just completely wrap us in various ways and absorb us in different things on the mobile. And then see the boys going here and there on their mobiles. It's a complete waste of time. Complete waste of time. In fact, it's negative. It's not even a waste. It's a negative use of time. But we're so attached, addicted, call it what you like. Or try to utilize things for your real benefit. Krishna's pleasure. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I see you've got a t-shirt. It's a young man in the front there. On his t-shirt, he's got dread. Dread. Dread? I don't know who it is. It's somebody on his t-shirt says dread. This is the material word, dread. Probably doesn't even know what it says. Yeah. Dread. I've noticed that in the Philippines, everybody wears t-shirts. They've got these funny things written on their t-shirts. It's really weird. So some of them are really, really strange. I've seen devotees wear McDonald's t-shirts before now. I don't even know what they're wearing. It's just a t-shirt. We try to get the devotees, especially the younger ones, try to get them some nice t-shirts which help them to remember Krishna. I don't know who this is. I don't know if it reminds you of Krishna, but it doesn't look like a self-realized soul. Maybe dread. Is it Jimi Hendrix? Yeah? It looks like from a distance. I don't know. That's going back a few years. Good grief. materialistic world that we were living in. And we have a nice picture of Prabhupada or Krishna or something then. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to try to remember Krishna. Of all the rules and regulations, everything we do, the whole purpose is to try to remember Krishna. Yes. Okay, well, 1 hour's up. Any short questions? Any questions? Come on, the stages of Manila.
Maharaj, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear everybody else more than you.
Okay, Maharaj, my question is, I work here from in the Philippines, and all of my team members are Filipinos. So basically, they are non-devotees. And yesterday we had this gift exchange event because it's Christmas, as you said. So we had this gift exchange event, and I took a chance to distribute some of Prabhupada's books, basically the Matchless Gift and the Higher Taste. But my worry is, I don't know if they will appreciate and if they will read it. I don't know, what if they just keep it on the side of their house somewhere in the corner. I mean, I did my part, at least giving them, but I don't know if they will really wanted to read it.
Yeah. Well, this is something exclusive to your situation, of course. We're distributing books here in Paris. There are millions of Arabic people in France, and we've been distributing a lot of Arabic books to them. And maybe it's their only connection with Krishna consciousness in this lifetime. They have their own religious practice, which is another thing. But as far as Krishna consciousness goes, we don't know if they're going to read those books. I was just hearing from Tamal Krishnamaj just maybe 3 or 4 days ago related to this, and he was quoting Srila Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada told me, he said, if you just get them to touch the book, even if they don't read it, or to speak of follow anything, if they simply touch the book, their life will become perfect. It doesn't happen overnight, just touching it, seeing it. He said these books have such potency because they're pure. They're not of this world. It's like the holy name Golokara Prema Donna Harinama Sankirtan. They've descended from the spiritual realm who give us their association. So to whatever degree a person associates, there's some beginning at least of their spiritual journey is there. So don't become disheartened. You can be selective in what you give, and you chose it. With the Higher Taste, I would say you chose a pretty good book to give. I know it's not directly Prabhupada's book, but what's good about that one? Well, it's not so difficult. The philosophy in there is not so difficult. Not just the philosophy, but people do like to eat. And there's some nice recipes in there too. So it's a bit of a combination. It's not like direct, you could say, transcendental instruction, but it begins people's lives in a less aggressive way. Sometimes you give a person who's not really interested a book, and it's like when they open it up, and they open up on a page, and it's kind of way beyond their present absorption or their present situation. They put it down. It's not for me. But a Higher Taste is a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier to relate with, I would say. Coming back, Higher Taste. These books are a little bit easier. Matchless Gifts, 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is good, really good, but it's a bit heavy for some people. If they're into spirituality, it's great. But Higher Taste, I'm not saying we should distribute Higher Taste, by the way. We should distribute the pure Shastras. But as far as gifts are concerned, maybe you've got others there. There's one book called The Glory of India. That's a very good book for really bridge, if you want to call it that. For people who are, you're not selling them a book, you're gifting them a book. You have to be a little discriminatory when you're gifting it. You don't have to be, but you can be. In order to know the people you're giving it to, more or less where they're at. You're going to give them something which makes them feel a little bit beneficial from receiving it. So I don't know what you've got there in the Philippines now. I haven't been there for a long time. But no, what you've done is fantastic. You can also give them prasadam, by the way. I don't know. They often give each other chocolates or something like that, isn't it? If you're expert at making chocolate sweets without using chocolate, you can use carob or something. Make some beautiful sweets and give people a box and make a nice box. It's a beautiful gift to give to people. I mean, if it's a bit more on the spot, you can give them some nice cakes or something. I don't know, some small cupcakes or something. Something which they appreciate, which will help them to make at least a step forward. They may not, they may not make great steps all at once. Something they'll appreciate. Something they'll, oh God, this guy's just trying to preach me. This religion is trying to convert me or something. Something not quite so radical as that, which they sometimes think, because they don't know. They're not able to access it because, if one's too materially inclined, you can't really enter into the scripture. It just doesn't make sense. You got to have a little bit of good fortune to be able to, apply, understand and apply scripture. Mundane ones fine, but spiritual scriptures, you have to have a little bit of good fortune. Most people haven't got that good fortune. So when you give them prasadam or some literature which they can relate with a little bit better, like yesterday, I had one copy on the book table yesterday in the city. I was doing a book table, and there was a book about Darwin. It was called Rethinking Darwin. I had one copy, and within no time, somebody sold it to someone. It was gone without my knowledge. And people are in because they can relate to this thing, science, but it brings them a little bit to the Krishna conscious perspective. So it's a bridge book. We call bridge book. It's not like straight in there. Some of Prabhupada's books is straight in. The first page, you're a rascal, you're a hog, unless you accept Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead, you're nonsense. It's like boom, straight in the deep end, So you don't want to do something gifts like that, It's something which is like we're just doing this book, spiritual yoga. And it sounds interesting when people when they say, oh yeah, that's interesting. But if you read the contents, it's straight from Lord Kapila Dev. It's like really heavy stuff, fruitive reactions and this and that. Boom, straight in there. Nothing but people think about yoga. It's not yoga for people in general. But so be a little bit aware of what we're doing when we give books. But otherwise, great. Well done. Well done, sir. Okay, is that all right?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Even if they don't read it, by the way, they keep it in their homes, that book will still have a beneficial effect. And you'll find in many cases, after many, many years, it's like we mentioned that, oh, by the way, that person who wanted to commit suicide and got the book off of the devotee started coming to the temple and eventually joined the temple and wanted to kill himself. And maybe 6 months later, he was living in the temple itself. So, it has a transformatory effect when the time comes. There's another factor working here, Krishna in the heart, and the desire of the devotee. So devotees they desire that others should become fortunate. And the desire of the devotee is very dear to Krishna. So he'll make arrangements to help the living entities to wake up sometimes, put them in difficulty. And then they start looking a little bit for another alternative, spiritual. So preparing them to get that good fortune sometimes is also something we don't notice. Some point of time, that persons you've given those books to, something may happen in their lives, which may make them turn to that book and look into it deeply, or someone in their family, or they give it to a friend, someone they think might be interested. The books go here and there, and Krishna has his ways of, let's say, reciprocating, revealing himself accordingly. But I don't have any doubt about it. It's a beneficial thing to do, that's for sure. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm going to have to move along in a few minutes because we do have to go to this other program. It's an hour's drive from here. We've got to get ourselves ready. I'll just finish off a little kirtan, and Krishna willing, we'll see you all in a few months' time. I've been to the Philippines. How long ago is it since I was in the Philippines? Anyone remember? I can't remember.
When was the last year? When was the last year?
It was before COVID, so whenever that was.
21.
81?
22, 22. 20. 20.
Pardon?
2020.
No, I never came in 20. I didn't come in 20. Maybe early 19, maybe, right at the beginning of 19.
19 Dora for me.
I saw you in Makati. I saw you in Makati somewhere in March or April. I saw you in Makati temple in March or April 2020. I was there. Sorry,
When
just
did
before
COVID? I thought COVID started. When did COVID start?
Yeah, in
2019?
February, March. COVID was in March.
Only
What
2019.
year? Huh?
2019.
20, yeah, that's the last time I came, 2019. I
Yes.
haven't been to Philippines since COVID started. Yeah, 2019. Must be. So, okay, Krishna willing. It was 2019. I can't remember if it's 2020 or 2019. I don't know. But it was when just before COVID started. So a few years. It'll be at least 3 years, at least, if not 4. 3 to 4 years. Jai. So Hare Krishna, thank you for coming together today, sharing and trying to give Krishna consciousness to others, old and young, man or woman, whatever we are, whatever we think we are. We're all spirit souls. Hare Krishna, all glories to Prabhupada. Jai.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Go. A little kirtan.
Yes. 5 minutes kirtan.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You have to mute. You have to mute here in Manila. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Follow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's it. See, I'm on my own here, and it's difficult sometimes to know where you start and where you end on the mantra. Unless I sing along, I can't do that. I just have to sneeze and cough every now and again. Or if I sing out of whack, you say, out of tune or not tune, out of beat, I say, whatever. Anyway, at least I did. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Bolo Bolo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Bolo 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 Bolo, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Jai Prabhupada ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Gaura Premanande. Yeah, you were right. It would have been the early 2020 because 19 end it started, but early 2020, just before the pandemic. You know, it came just before the pandemic, I believe. Early 2020. So fantastic. We hope we'll be able to come next year in April, hopefully, Krishna willing. Let's see what Krishna allows, what we're doing. Let's prepare. So wishing you all the best. Yo Noel. Philippines. I don't know how to say Happy Christmas in Philippines. Filipino, Tagalog. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
You remember Krishna as a happy Christmas.
Hare Krishna.
Remember Krishna. Christmas. Every day will be happy. Every day, if we some another. There's one devotee online. I see her on the screen, but we can't see her. She's in France. Her body is 80 years old. 80. And she goes out almost every day on the street just to get books. And it's really cold here right now. She goes. Body is almost 80 years old. So, you know, if she can do it, anyone can do it. It's not okay. It's not easy. At least it's not cold in Manila. It's warm. Someone try to give Krishna consciousness to us, share it with us. We get so enwrapped in our own world sometimes. Prabhupada, the best way to control this wild mind is to try to give Krishna to others. Prasadam, whatever it is, prasadam, fantastic way of distributing Krishna consciousness. Food for life, prasad, really a wonderful way of sharing Krishna consciousness in a way that nobody can understand. Krishna understands. I mean, we understand a little bit, but they don't understand. It doesn't matter. It's just nice food. Right? Hare Krishna. I think tomorrow I used to say Philippines means lots of kirtan and lots of prasad. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. All glories to the Prophet.
Maharaj, thank you. Haribo.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Jai! Jai!
Haribo!
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Apologies.
Thank you, Maharaj.
You are to your time, huh?